All right. Good evening once again. So
Yeah, sure.
just to recap on what we have achieved so far. So we are still on the HTML tags mastery. So far, so well. We have discussed, assume we now know how to use 3 to 4 HTML tags to add content to our web pages, right?
Sure.
So we have mastered the heading tag, how to use heading tag to create headings within our web pages. We have also mastered the paragraph tag and also the image tag, how to use the image tag to add images to our web pages. So let's me start by previewing the front end just for us to see the user's end of our development so far. So this is the back end. This is our development back end. As you can see here, this is where we apply the heading tag. This is where we apply the p tag. This is where we wrapped two different images in a div, which represents container elements. So to view the front end, I will just use my live server extension. So this is what we have developed so far. So with this that I am saying, it shows that we have started styling the body tag, right? Hello? Are you still here? Can you hear me? Let's see if you cannot hear me. Okay, so like I was saying, I was trying to assess the numbers of tags we have covered so far. And I was asking then that for me to see the background, this is actually the front end of what we have developed so far. And you know that this was not the background color the front end came with. It came with white background color. So which means that we have started styling the body tag, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, remember I told us in that class that there are three ways we can actually fill the document background, where we have the solid background filling, and then we have gradients background filling, and then the last one is image background filling. And we have already learned how to use the solid. So just to put it in proper context, because I know that was towards the end of that class. So let me just start with that topic properly. That is HTML document. Let me do that in my CSS file. Okay, I think we have already commented on that, styling the document background. In other words, HTML document background styling. So there are three ways we can actually style the background of our HTML document. But before then, I would like to take us back to our structural page, which is the HTML file. Now, if you look at the modeling of this code, you will agree with me that all these items, starting from the heading tag to down to the div, they are all wrapped in the body tag, right? Which means
Yes,
that,
I want to switch to my laptop now.
okay, let me wait for you. Okay. So I was actually trying to model the HTML file, the what we call HTML document modeling. HTML document modeling. So there's a concept I want to explain to you. So as a web programmer, you should know how to model your document because that will help you to understand the structure of your contents. And once you have an understanding of your content structure, that will have a way of helping you to know the relationship between the elements. So, for example, I was trying to tell you that if you look at our HTML file structure, you will notice that this is where the body tag was open, and this is where it's closed. So, which means that all this tag, H1, P tag, div, the two images, this second H1, they were all written inside the body tag, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now if I am to model this, this is the conceptual view or structuring of how this document is modeled. So this first box represents the body tag, represents the body tag. Now, inside the body tag, we now have different boxes. Remember, I have once told you that almost 99% of HTML elements, they are box model, which means that you should always see them inside what? Boxes. Remember, that was the reason why we were activating the border the other time. That CSS property where we call border, and then we specify the thickness, and then the type of line to be solid or dotted, and then with the definition of the column. So what I am saying is that if we are to model the whole of this file, we have the first box, which represents the body tag. So which means that the body tag is the bigger container. Inside it, we have additional container. So this one could represent our H1. Okay. Now this one could represent the P tag, while this one could represent the IMG. Now, if this one could represent the div, I hope you are following. Now, inside the
Yes, sir.
div, we now have two boxes.
Sir, I don't really, sir, this div, I don't really understand like that too.
Yes, and that what I'm doing now will help you to understand it. You can see that this is the div box, right? Inside it,
Mm-hmm.
we now nested what? Two different boxes inside. So which means that the div is an HTML element which is used for grouping two or more elements. Do you understand that? It's a grouping tag. It's just like a container that you can throw other things inside. And if you look at the reason why we used it, that was exactly the purpose. Because initially, these two images, they were independent images, right? Then we needed to move them to the center of the page. That was what led to the calculation of, okay, it will be easier for us to push the two images at once instead of pushing them individually if we wrap them or place them in a div container. So just like the way I explained the H1 to be HTML structural tag, that is how the div is also part of the structural tag. It's also a tag. And don't forget, I told you that HTML tags, they are building what? blocks, right?
Tags, building
They
blocks.
are building
Mhm.
blocks which are used to define your web page's contents and the structure, because eventually the content you create with the HTML tags form the shape of your website. Do you understand that? Is it
Yes,
clear to
sir.
you now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's just like if I go to the front end now.
Sir, it's only the image tags you can use for DIV, like,
No, 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 no. You can even nest. Good. That is a very good question. Though I know that I'm still going to use them, but just to answer your question directly, it is not only image tag that can be uh, wrapped inside the div. Now, let me give you a practical example. You have a bucket in your house, right?
yes.
That bucket, you can add water inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you add water inside, it becomes what? Bucket of what? Water. That means you are describing that bucket based on the content at that moment, right?
Yes.
If you pour the water away, can you pour sand inside that same bucket?
Yes, sir.
If you remove the sand, can you pour other things inside the bucket? Good. That
Yes, sir.
is that is how I can answer your question. So if I ask you back now that the div, is it only images as a content it can contain?
No, sir.
Good. That means I can put H1, H2, H3, or P tag inside, right? Did you?
Yes, sir.
Good. Exactly. So that is, I believe it's clear to you now. So is a container. It is left for you to determine what you add inside the container. In this case, we added images. As we continue, you will see me using the div again to group certain elements. Now, there might be reason for that because the better you structure, that is why I did that modeling, so that you understand that there's a way it could be difficult for you to select HTML elements in your CSS file if they are not properly structured. So a web programmer should be mindful of the arrangement, the layout of his or her HTML element, because just like what we did here, we were only trying to create a structure that can easily help us to perform a task. We could have decided to call the IMG1 and say margin left, and then come to IMG2 and say what? Margin left, and end up pushing both of them to the middle of the page, or maybe to the left hand side or to the right hand side. But we consider the fact that instead of us speaking to these images one after the other, why don't we put them in one container such that once we talk to that container, once I push only one container, all the items, even if I add 1 million images inside it, all of them will be moved at once. Did you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Good. So that was the essence. So it is you that will determine how do you want to make it easier for you while you are communicating to them in CSS. Now, like I was saying, we are still going to continue with the body tag styling. What you can actually do on the body, like I mentioned, is to use it to define the entire document background color. And I said there are three categories of background we can actually style the body. Right now, the body is styled with solid background. So how do I define that in case you are writing your note now? Number one, solid body styling. Now, we refer to it as solid color background when you use just a single background to fill.
Sorry, sir, solid what?
Okay, I said what? Solid,
Solid.
solid background styling, solid background color styling, solid background color styling. Have you written it? Have you written that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I want to define it.
Yes, sir.
So solid background styling, it is when a single color is used to fill the entire HTML document. It is when a single color is used to fill the entire HTML document background. Have you taken that? So that is when we can refer to it as solid. Now, I want to ask you, the current background color, can we say is a solid color or background?
Yes,
How?
it's totally black.
Good, because the whole background is filled with what? One color, called what? Black. So that is solid color. Now, just to add to it, use CSS property called background color. Background hyphen color. Use CSS property called background hyphen color to fill your entire document with one background color. So which we use the other time. Now I'm
Sir,
going to
okay. I did add this one. I've not done this one. I did not add this one to the assignment you gave me.
okay. Thank God that I'm
That's why.
taking it again. Okay, let me but I don't know if I explain it. Okay, don't worry. Let's assume that we are, because that's the topic we are now. So now you write it just like I was saying it. I said for us to be able to give the entire background, I've returned it to white now. The white came as default. And for one reason or the other, we are trying to make sure that we have a good user interface that we end up rendering all our visitor user experience. That is good user what experience. And then we are calculating some factor. For example, if you look at this white background, you will agree with me that to an extent, it's radiating on some of this color. It's making some of these tests not to really what stand out. So it could happen like that. So in that case, I will say, okay, I want the users not to find it difficult to read the content. So what I'm going to do is to dim the background by giving it black background color, and that will bring out what? The write-up. So there are so many calculations that can be done that might lead to, okay, I don't want to continue with the default white background. So if it happened that way, how do you now change it? We are saying that it's either you give the whole of this background one color which is solid, or I blend two solid color together. Maybe from here to here, I can have the black, and then from here downward, I can have blue and mix it up like that. So when that happens, that is gradient. Then I can as well decide to say, okay, I have a creative background that I have probably downloaded from Google, or I must have designed it as a graphic designer, or I must have given it to a graphic designer to help me to draft or to design it, and I want to use it as the background of my document. So these are the three methods I want to really walk us through in this section. Now, we have white background here, and I want to change it to black. And I am saying is that for you to be able to fill your document background with a single color, which is called solid, you have to call the elements. Remember, I started by explaining that the whole of those content are inside what? Body tag, which means that if I want to talk to the background that is holding all of them, it is the body tag I should call in my CSS as a selector. And I am saying that if you want to change the color, there is a CSS property called background color property. Okay, now don't forget that we are learning HTML tag alongside with CSS properties. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
So in other words, we are learning two languages at the same time, two front-end development languages at the same time. So after we have mastered these two languages, before we can bring in JavaScript, before we can say that we are through with the front-end languages. Now, if I want to change the background of my document with a single color, please don't forget, this is the property to call. And then inside the value, you specify the color you want, let's say black. Now, if I switch to the front end now, you will notice that I have changed the entire document background or the entire browser background towards black. Did you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, another thing I
Sir,
want,
what did you just put? Can I see your back end?
yes, this is it. I just call
Okay, you put background color.
color, yes, and then I supply what? Black. Okay.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
there are three ways we can actually call color in web programming. Three ways we can call color. You can call color by their name. You can call color by RGB, which means, let me use comments to explain some of this so that it will be easier for you to understand. Where should I put it now? Let me put it here. Let me use it as my note for now. I said methods that you can document methods of calling colors, method of calling colors in CSS. Okay, so like I said, there are three ways you can actually reference color. So the first one is calling colors by their names. So e.g., in this case, that was exactly the method I use here when I say black. E.g., I can just
Okay.
call color black. I can say red.
Okay.
I can say blue. Hope you are still here. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, but there is a challenge as a web programmer. You are not expected to just know only this method because this method will only be useful where you know the name of the color. But there are times that some of us, we don't really know much color outside this basic color. So there might be a particular color you want to use, but you don't know its name. In that case, the question is that how will you call it? So that is why we look at the other way we can call color, which is calling, or let me say, yeah, calling color using RGBA, RGBA color function. So this is one method. Now, this method implies that you use a function called RGB. The A is optional. The A represents alpha. That is ALPHA, alpha. That alpha means opacity. And to translate it to a layman description, opacity means transparency. To transparent is to look through. So if I call red now and I transparent it, it will reduce the thickness and then allow me to see through it, probably to another
And
color.
what do you say RGBA? What do you say RGBA is?
The RGBA means the R represents red, while the G represents green, and the B represents blue. Then the A represents alpha, that is ALPHA. Are you with me? So
Yes, sir.
just good. Now, just to put it in brackets here. So this is red, comma, green, comma, blue, and then comma, opacity. This is the order. So that one I said alpha is the one I have interpreted to be what? Opacity. Now, this is one way. This is one of the best way because this one helps us to use integer, that is number, to calculate. So let me show you how to apply it here. So let's assume that I don't want to use name to call color anymore. I want to use ROGB. Now the ROGB is a function. So I will say ROGB A, and then I will hold down the shift and press 9 to open the bracket. Now, the next thing is for you to define the color code or the color number. Now, the highest you can put there as a color number is 255. So which means that if I want to give the entire background red, for me to calculate it, I will say the value of red is what? 255, comma, the value of green, 0. That means what? Green is absent. The value of blue is also absent. So that will give you what? Complete red. So if I go back to the page now, you can see that I have been able to what? To use the ROGBA method to call red. Is that clear?
No,
Did
yes,
you
sir.
did you understand it?
No. How do you know the numbers already?
I know that is what you are going to have. Like I told you the other time, that is why you are in here for the training. So as I'm working, that is an opportunity for you to know. How did I know the color? Because I have been practicing this field for a while. I have already know and I have researched. Okay, I was also trained the way I'm training you. So I was taught how to use this number to calculate color. Exactly. So anyone, you can take it like an assignment. Later, you can just go to Google and search for ROGBA color codes. Okay, so you see Google will give you a lot of them and tell you the color each of them will produce. Now, but just to still expatiate a little for you to align. Now, let's start from here. The R represents what? Let me know if you
Red.
understand. The G represents, that means that what? Once you open the function bracket, the first color value, any number you type there represents which color?
Red.
Now, if I put comma, any other color I specify represents what?
Green.
Now, if I put comma, any number, the next number represents what? Look at the calculation you got.
Blue.
So every number you put there, so long is not higher than 255. That's what I'm saying. If you put 255, it means you are actually calling that color in its fullest. That is what the red should be 100%. That is why when I put red here, if I wanted something close to something in the family of red color, but it's not 100% red, I will not put 255. I can just put something like 100. So that is not going to give me 100% red. So if I put a comma and I put 0, I put a comma and I put 0, can you see the kind of red we produce now? It's different from the previous one, right?
Yes.
Good. So if you want the full red, you will just make sure that you use the highest code, which is what? 255. And then comma. make sure that other ones are absent. Because if you add other ones value like 60, that 60, that represents green. So the green will fuse into the red, and that will not cause the red to degenerate to another color. So it is only when I give other ones 0, which means that what? They should not contribute at all. They are totally absent. That is when the red can be 100%, even after defining the code at the highest value. So if I put here now 90, I will not get that type of red. You can see that this red is not as smart as the first red because the property of green has entered inside and the one of blue has also what? Mixed up. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, you are going to teach me now, if I want green, how will I write the code? I want 100% green. How will I write the code?
02550.
Good. 2550. So I want to ask you now, how do you know that this number will produce green? Just like the way you asked me. So you can
Because
see,
other ones are not contributing.
you see, within just how many seconds, you now understand the logic. So that is the secret. Once somebody do it and you see the person, you will definitely know what is happening. So now, if you go back to the front end, you will see that what? We have used ROGBA method to also fill the entire document with what? Green background color. Now, always bear in mind that as a UI and US developer, who are UI US developer? I have already explained that before, that these are programmers that deals with application interface what? Development. So every graphic designer is what? Is a UI US designer. Every front end, every website front end developer, he or she is also qualified to be addressed as what? UI and US what? Designer. In other words, these are personnel that specialize or that knows how to create user interface that can give users good experience. Okay, so the whole of this page now is an application. That is why I told you
The user interface, they are personnel that know how to.
they are personnel or professionals that knows how to build application users interface. Users interface. Okay, so the environment that is created for users. So this particular interface that I am on right now, it is not development environment or development interface. This is simply what? User what? Interface. Now, if I switch to my IDE, this interface, if I ask you, is this user interface?
Yes.
Is this interface user interface?
Okay, no, it's just a no.
Development interface, right? Hello, are you with me?
Yes, sir.
So this is not user interface. This is the code writer interface. Then this is the result of your development. Okay, so the users of your website only sees this aspect. They don't see what? Your coding interface. Exactly. So what we are
Yes.
saying is that this one may not look friendly because after all, the user has no business in looking at this. They are not going to see this. This is the only word you are going to see. But I'm going somewhere. Now, if you look at this interface, is there any conflict?
Sir?
If you look at the
I
interface
want
now,
to.
based on the color, based
Uh,
on this color that we are currently using, I am asking, is there any conflict? Is it a good user interface?
um,
Are you still here?
yes, the green is too sharp.
Good.
Um,
The green is too what? Sharp. The green is too sharp. Now, how do I reduce it? That's a very good observation. That is where you now bring, we have not specified the alpha, the A. We have not contributed the A here, which I said the transparency or the alpha value. So you put comma. The alpha value is always a decimal number. So I can say 0.0.3. So what that we do is to reduce it. Can you see that? It has dimmed the green. The green is no longer sharp. So if I go to the front end now, you can see what I have derived now. Did you understand that?
Okay.
Eh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I want you to achieve this for me.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I want to quickly achieve this within the next 3 to 5 minutes before I continue. So you can share your screen now and do something like this so that it doesn't get too much. You can start now. You have to be communicating as usual.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay. So before as you were talking, I already put background color. But since you want to do the other one, RGBA, let me just comment this one out so I'll still know that it's there. So I'll still type in. Okay, so still type. I'll just type in RGBA. Then it's already pop out for me like this. But this is not how I'll use the values. So depending on what I want, maybe if I want every color I want, 255 is the highest number for every color in RGB. 255 is the highest. So if I don't want it too high or anything, I can maybe put, depending on what I want, maybe later I'll check how the colors are mixing to get each color maybe I want. But I don't want so much red for the green. So I'm seeing the color changes, so I'm just trying to see
Yeah.
if it's fitting my work. Let me see. Okay, which one's affecting the title? Or should I change the color of the title?
No, no, no. It's okay. It's just for me to
I
know
think I'll
if
change the color of the title.
okay. Okay, so let's
Oh,
just proceed. I
okay.
just needed to confirm if you
Okay.
can actually use it. So you can take your time later to adjust it. So let's continue. So
Okay.
now you cannot share your screen. So it actually shows that you understand the concept already. Now, remember that I'm still discussing different ways we can actually call color, right? Because this is applicable to even other places where you use color. This particular
Yes,
heading
sir.
now, you can decide to use ROGBA. Okay, so after you have called color like this, you can come here and say you don't want to call the color by name anymore. Now that you understand ROGBA concepts, you nest it inside. So um if I want black all through, I will just put 0 0. So when you have black all through, that will give you black. So if I go back to the front end, you see that this other header, you remember that we created this header. I have switched using RGBA to what? Black. So if for any reason I discover that that black is not really compatible, what will I do? Another advantage of using RGBA, I want to show you a simple technique you can always use whenever you don't even know the color you want to use precisely. Maybe you are having issue with this number calculation, just like the little challenge you were facing and you were trying to get a particular color. Next time, you don't need to waste your time. This is what you do. Just put any color, just like black like this. Any color you can remember, just put it. Then after that, go back and touch this. Once you touch this, it will pop up this color bucket. So if I want a color from this area, I'll click here. It will pour the color here. Then any part of this color I want to use, if I touch it, it will do the calculation for me. Did you understand it?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, if I go to the front end now, you see that what will have changed the color of that text. So that is all about RGBA because I still have other background to teach us. Now, let's quickly look at the third one before I leave this color reference method. So the third one is, let me stay inside my comment. The third one is hexadecimal. We call it hexadecimal color method. We call it hex color method. So this is where you calculate color using number and alphabet. Using number and alphabet, provided you start with hash. So they start with this. Before you start calling those color, you must start with hash. Okay? So if I comment, let's say I want to use it to change the color of the background. So what I'm going to do is to remove this. If I remove the whole of this and I want to use the hexadecimal, so I will just type hash. So once I type hash, if I do 00 like this is a color. So if I go to the front end now, you see that what that has given me what? Black. So the only criteria involved or needed to activate the hexadecimal color is for you to start with the hash. So now if I do AA after the hash, if I do AA, that will generate what? A color. So if I go there, you see that I've generated color. Now, like I told you, if peradventure you are not sure of the color you want to use, you can, after you have applied any one, you can hover on the color icon and pick any color you want. It will do the calculation for you. Is that clear? Did you understand it? Hello?
Sir,
Did you understand it? Do you have question? Or it's clear so that I can move to the next topic? Hello? Can I proceed now? I
yes,
can go
sir.
ahead. Okay, so I was asking that, is this hexadecimal method clear so that I can proceed to the next topic? Hello?
Sir, I never hear what you said before, like about the hex color. Yeah, what you heard about the hex color. That's when you started cracking.
Okay. So let me just quickly run through it again. So what I was saying is that the third method of calling color in CSS is using the hexadecimal. So the hexadecimal is where you calculate color by combining letters and numbers, provided you start with the hash. Exactly.
Let me write it down, cousin.
Okay. Should I come again? Hello, I'm not sure if you can hear me. That's why I'm holding on. This is where
So you said
where
you combine a hashtag, you
color are
combine
narrated by combining alphabets and numbers. After activating the hatch. Is that clear now? I want to know if you can hear me now.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let's quickly look at, remember the topic that we are discussing. So I actually deviated from the topic a little bit, though we are still within the topic because we are still on how to use solid color to fill the document entire background color. So why I have to explain this color concept, because we are dealing with color to fill our HTML document background. So now that we understand this now, let me take this off and then look at the second method. Remember, the second method is using gradients. Let me also use comments to explain that. So the second method is, so I can wipe off this contents and use the same comment line. So I don't need this for now. If I need it, I'll come back to it. So the second way of coloring or specifying the background of your document is uh, using gradients, background color, background color. Okay, so in case you are having audio issue, you can't hear me, please quickly use the reaction button so that I will know. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm trying to charge my laptop because it's running low.
Okay. Are you doing that? Should I wait or?
Like I don't know what's wrong. It's
You
not
said?
charging. I don't really know what's wrong. It's not charging.
All right. So we are looking at using gradients background color method. Now, just to define what is gradients. Gradients
So
is
where are those things?
eh?
The
I
thing you wrote before.
yes, I deleted them. I deleted because I don't need them again. They are just comments. Now we are done with that topic. Can you hear me?
So which topic is this one?
Eh?
So which topic is this one?
Now remember that we are still on how to style HTML document background color, right? And I said there are three ways we can achieve that, either by using one color or true, which is called solid. And then I also mentioned gradient color. So the method we are considering now is how we can fill this background with two colors instead of just one color. And that method is called gradients. Is that taken?
Okay.
Okay, so just to explain, I said
This is when two or more colors, two or more solid color, not just color, solid colors are used to fill documents. BG, that is background. So which property do we use here? Let me also highlight that with comment. Use background CSS property and next linear ingredients inside. Okay, so what we are simply saying is that, for example, if we are asked to fill this with red and blue,
Can I see what you wrote?
yes, use background CSS property and next.
No, the first you're just.
Okay. Let me see. Here, right?
Mm.
To fill document background. The BG represents a background. I just abbreviated it to BG. Have you gotten that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that let's understand what exactly we want to achieve. The whole of this background that is currently white or true, we want part of it to be red and part of it to be blue. That is the combination of two different solids. And this solid color will be, these two colors will enter each other. So that is called gradient fill. So there are some websites, document background, you will see these concepts are used. So like I said, you first of all call this property. Inside it, you add this one inside before you use your RGBA method to call the color. So let's quickly go there. So I'll start with background. I will just call just background. That is a short hand of background color. It's just that the other one is more descriptive. So when you say background, it means you are about to, say something about background. Then I will add, like I specify in my notes, you will nest this linear gradient inside the background property. So this is just like you have called two different CSS property. Okay, now inside the gradient function, you will now define the way you want to communicate color. So that was the reason why I took time to explain that RGBA, because that is the method I'm going to use here. So inside it, I'll say RGB. I can decide to say I want to use only RGB. So like I said, the A is optional. If I don't want to dim or reduce the color or transparent the color, there is no need for you to activate the A. So I can just do RGB, then it's a function. So this is just like inside the linear gradient, you have added the color RGB calculator. So like I said, we are blending red and blue. So using that same concept, 255, 0, 0. So that will give us red. So if I go to the front end, you will see that what we have full red. We have full red. Now, but we are blending red and green. So now I will now come outside. Remember, this is the first RGBA color calculator. So you come outside it. Meanwhile, you are still inside the linear gradient. You can see that the program has even differentiated the parentheses bracket with different colors so that you can differentiate it. So you come outside the first RGBA, then you add a comma, you declare another one, RGB, and then you call, remember we are targeting blue, So I'll put here 0, put here 0, and then put here 255. That will give me blue. Then if I go back to the front end, you will see that what? You have blend two colors together. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now I can do my calculation. This is not actually giving me a good what? User interface. Okay, because I'm not seeing this color. But I'm very sure that if I update this text color from red to white or true, I am going to have better user interface. So it's either I add the opacity to reduce that red. So I can come to the red section and say comma just to reduce it. Then 0.3. Let me try 0.3 and then check. So you can see that what I have dimmed. I have reduced the red section and now the right top are visible. Did you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me give you 5 minutes to replicate the same thing. Maybe if you want to copy the code first.
Yes, sir.
Okay, copy the code first before you. Once you are done copying the code, let me know. Continue.
Okay.
So you have to comment the previous one out. You cannot use both of them at the same time. Okay. Remember, you are using just, okay, good. Okay. No, no, no. That is not where to add the comma. That is not where to add the comma. After the green, after the blue color, good. Let's see your front end now. Okay, good. All right, hope it's cleared out so you can do more practice later, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let's continue. So we still have one more before we end this section. Now, if I want to use more than 2 colors, the same thing, I will just come here and do the same thing. I will say ROGB, ROGB. Then maybe the third color is 100% red. So I'll just say 255, comma 0, comma 0. So if I check now, you see that what? I now have 2 color feeds. So at the bottom here, I have 100% red entering the blue, and then the blue is entering what? The lighter what? Red. Is that taken?
Yes, sir.
So you can continue like that. You can define up to 10 colors. So depending on how, but make sure that whatever color set you are using always consider the user's experience. Is it going to give them good experience or bad experience? If you look at it that it will not give them good experience, you desist from that color, or you better fall back to using one color or two. So if that is taken, now let me comment this out and then take the last topic, which is this third method, which is using an image. Using an image as HTML document background. So this is when you use a downloaded picture, creative one, that actually speak the service. If, for example, this website is for a car seller, it's either they must have designed or used their logo to form a background, or I'll use a very nice picture that actually represents the type of services they are rendering. So I can use it as the background. So the first thing I'm going to do is to go to Google and download a good looking background. So this is about food. So what I'm going to do is to download, let me just say restaurants. You say restaurants, or okay, let's say background. So if you have the keyword, you can use to search. So let me just search for background. Then you go to the image section. Okay, so let's assume. Now you need to be mindful of the background that will not overshadow your content. So that need to be bear in mind. Okay, so don't bring a background that will make it difficult for the user to see your page content. So let me use this type of background. This one is not going to affect the write-off so much. So I will right click on it and then select save image as. Then remember that the name of our project folder, I will go to desktop and look for that folder and then add the image to our image folder so that we can access it from our development environment. So we're already on desktop, so I'll look for the folder is online web training. So I'll open it up. Inside my image folder, we save the background there. I can just say BG1 in case I want to download other background. So once you have gotten the image downloaded, you go back to your development environment. Now you are going to use a CSS property different from the one we use for solid color and the one we use for gradient color. So let me just add it to the note. Use CSS property.
Can you cracking?
Am I cracking? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it clear now?
Yes, but you're cracking.
Mm.
I don't know if it's my network. Yes.
You can hear me now, Abi?
Yes.
Okay, so if it's balanced, okay, let's proceed. So now, I was writing somewhere, using CSS property called background hyphen image and add URL and add URL to define the image part. To define the image part. So let's go ahead and implement it. So that background that we downloaded, I want to use it to fill the whole of this body section of my website. So I will say background image. So this is the property you are using whenever you want to use an image or an external image, because this image is not embedded in your program. So now, because it is an external object, for you to define where it's coming from, after you have called the principal property, you type U. Once you type U, it will bring it. You select URL. Now, once you have selected URL, you slash inside it in order to call all your project root directory. Now, remember that we kept the background in our image folder. I'll go there and then I'll select it. So if I go back to the front end, you will see that what? The whole of that background is used to fill the entire document. Is that clear?
So cracking, oh.
Oh God. Let me change. You need to get this aspect very well. Let me change to another network and see if it's going to be better. Okay, so like I was saying, you can see that as soon as I reference the background I downloaded, you look at the front end now, the entire background is filled with that image, right? I just want to know if you are hearing me clearly.
Yes.
Okay, now if you look at it, something happened here. You can see that it repeated the background, because originally that background size, that image size, cannot cover the entire page. So what the command did is to duplicate it so that it can fill the entire document. But this might actually be someone's style. Someone might actually want it like this. But in my own case, if I don't want this separation, I just want only this section like this, one of it to fill the entire interface, then it will now lead to introducing another CSS property. So let me just put the comment here where I am introducing it. So now to stop the background.
Trappist, Trappist, can you send me a recording outside the call?
Okay. So to stop the background duplicates, use another CSS property. Called background repeats. We are stopping soon. Background repeats and assign no repeats. So what is happening right now is that by default, it's already programmed on what? In case the image you are given to fill the entire page is not big enough to cover it, automatically duplicate it, repeat it so that you can fill it. So I am going to alter that default instruction by saying background repeat, then I will say no repeats. So if I go back to the front end, you see that what? It has stopped that repetition. Are you still following? Are you still here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, it has actually stopped the repetition, but the image is no longer big enough to cover the entire space. So for me to stretch this image to cover the entire page, I will have to introduce another CSS property. So therefore, to stretch, the image in order to cover the entire document, use, let me break it, another CSS property called background size. Size, you will just say cover. So let's go ahead and apply it. So I'll simply say background size. I'll say cover. So if I go back to the front end, you see that that single background is now covering the entire document. Are you still following?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, there are times that after you have stretched it, you now discover that the important part of it is inside. And you want to bring the important aspect of this from the inside. So you will now use another property, which is called background position. You say, okay, let it be center. So if I go back and check now, you see an adjustment. You can see that this design came out, and then from this end, it also came out. Did you observe that? I want to verify if you observe that. Do you notice
Yes,
what
sir.
happened? Okay. Now, the final thing
Yes.
I want to do before we end this section is this. You can see that as I am scrolling, both the background and the page content are moving, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, I want to fix this background so that each time I scroll, it is only the content that should move, but the background will remain fixed. So that is the last thing we want to achieve. So to do that, let me use comment to stop the background image from scrolling. Use CSS property called background attachment piece. So it means we are saying that it should remain in one piece position. So to apply it, I will just say background attachment. This is it here. And then I will select what? Fixed. So if I go back to the front end and I scroll now, you will notice that the background is no longer scrolling. So I have just the content scrolling. So this, in most cases, is the best professional way to make it look, creative. Any question?
No, sir.
So, like you said, I will upload the video